I'm back with a movie review, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. This is an old one, very old, but I watched it once and I have a different perspective now, so I thought it might be fun to review it. I want to say first that I'm not a huge fan of inundating young girls with romantic stories of love that are very far from reality. I feel that I was waiting for my prince to come, and I spent a lot of time doing that before really reflecting on who I was and the gifts that God had placed in me. First, let's start with a summary of the story. I'm sure most people know it. It's a young girl whose father remarries after her mother dies. The stepmother has two daughters. They present themselves one way while the father is alive, but then the father dies and they change and they turn the girl into a servant. And her rescue comes from a fairy godmother when a ball comes up and she's invited to meet the prince who's looking for a bride. He chooses her and takes her out of her misery. What I thought was interesting was the fact that they decided to do away with the concept of race. Cinderella is black. One stepsister is black. The other one is white. The stepmother is white. The prince is Asian. I like the queen about the story. I love the sets. I thought they were colorful. I love the music. Whitney Houston sounded wonderful. Brandy sounded good. You know, even Whoopi Goldberg surprised me with a couple of her songs. I love the diversity of hairstyles. Brandy had braid extensions, and her hair stayed that way the entire time. And when it was time for her to dress up, they just curled and pinned them up in a very pretty way, I thought. The queen had locks. Whitney Houston, as the fairy godmother, chose to wear a huge, tightly coiled wig that looked like a curly fro. The stepsister had combo styles. I think one time I noticed cornrows in the front and tightly puffed out curls in the back. And for the ball, she wore two big, beautiful puffs. And in the beginning, when the prince was singing through the marketplace, he stopped and handed a flower to a woman who had locks. Everyone that was black in the movie didn't wear a natural hairstyle, but I really appreciated that they didn't have one representation of what our hair looks throughout the story. One, that she could change her situation herself, that it wasn't the magic of the fairy godmother or the prince coming to rescue her really that could change her situation, but that she had the ability, even from the beginning, to walk out of there, to realize that she was being mistreated and that she should walk out of there. Another message that I liked was that the prince was captivated by her as herself. You know, he chooses her, part of himself chooses her when he meets her in the marketplace as a servant. Another thing that I liked was an early conversation she has with the prince in the marketplace when he's kind of attracted to her and he says he wants to know her better, he wants to meet her. And she says, well, I'm not sure if I want to go any further with this, because how do I know you know how to treat a woman? How do I know you'll treat me the way I need to be treated? And he goes on to say, oh, I know how you want to be treated. You want to be treated like a princess. And she says, no, I want to be treated like a person with respect. And I thought that was a good act in many different movies and even in her sitcom. And I think I've liked the way she's acted better in other places. I thought in this movie she was a little stiffer than I wanted her to be. However, I don't think it's such a big deal because I think that sort of thing would go right over a little girl's head. I'm glad they cast her because she seemed like a real person. Her beauty was a real beauty. And I thought she was very beautiful, but it was in a way that I felt like it could be attainable to the average girl, which I think is good to show our daughters images like that could be that. There are a couple of kissing scenes in the movie. Personally, I think it could have been done well without it. So I really liked it. Tell me what you think. Be blessed.